said, we don't need support from anybody. We can do it. Yeah. Then we're crying in our shower because we're burning out.
Yeah. Hey friend, welcome to the Ready to Rise podcast with your host, me, Audrey Rose. This is the podcast all about taking your life to the next level. Join me on my journey as I create a life that I'm obsessed to wake up for every day. I hope that you are ready to create a life that you really, really love. Are you ready to rise? I'm so excited to have you on, truly. I love meeting people and just being like, would you come speak to my audience? And they do, and it's just so much fun. So if I could just have you introduce yourself a little bit and kind of what your podcast is all about and your mission with life.
Yes, I'd love to. So I'm Tanya Malcolm, and I'm a mindset and motivation coach for mompreneurs. And so I'm just really here to talk to moms and support moms who want to thrive where their ambition and motherhood intersects. You're always trying to be intentional about how you're showing up in your role as a mom. And then you're always trying to be intentional about how you're showing up in your role as an entrepreneur. And sometimes that creates inner conflict. And so my podcast is kind of a mix of motivation about entrepreneurship and building momentum in your business as a mompreneur, but then also about this superpower that we have as mothers, where a lot of the belief and love and inspiration that we have for our kids can often be turned inwards as our own kind of superpower.
Oh, I love that. So if I could ask you, I would love to ask you the burning question that I'm having right now, even without kids, but as a woman who's in a, healthy, engaged relationship and all of that, it's how do you, as a mom and as a woman with a life and so many people depending on you, how do you not get resentful? And I know that that has to do with the mindset piece. And I know that that's something, I'm sure you talk about this a lot, but I'm finding myself currently right now building a business, engaged, and I'm doing all of this stuff and we're living together. And I'm noticing myself getting a little jealous because I'm like, hey, why do you get time on Instagram laying in bed? And then it's well, it's my choice to start a business and it's my choice to take on all these things, but it's not clicking for me.
I know. I think that is definitely a conversation that we don't talk about enough. Whether you're a mompreneur or not, I think that mothers, especially in early motherhood, they do feel a lot of resentment about, well, for me personally, I won't speak for other moms, but for me personally, it was this lost sense of who I was because I didn't have a lot of clarity about who I would become as a mother. And that only is gained through time, right? So there was a sense of resentment connected to this part of myself that was confusing, that I felt like was lost. It certainly tied into identity and the value, self-worth that was wrapped up into this identity that was tied to this person, like a shadow of myself that I didn't see anymore. And I was looking down at my infant and feeling like, you're to blame, child,
Right.
Well, I love this. I forget who said it, but it was in one of the pregnancy books that I absorbed back in the day. And it was not only a child is born, but a mother is born.
Ooh, that's good.
I
can
know.
see how true that is.
And so that's just a part of yourself that you have no connection to until you experience it. Like any other area of growth in your life, when you change, it seems like there's this season of grief that you have to go through for this past version of yourself that is no longer.
Oh, I love that. And it's hard to accept it, but I like that you're bringing that up, that's it's almost just now you're a different person, basically. You're a completely different person, whether you're a new wife, you're a new mom, a lot of people have changes that happen, even with their parents, when your parents become dependent on you later in life. It changes your role so much and you love those people. You're not resenting them necessarily, but it's almost this resentment towards the change that you have to, it's I didn't ask for this change.
I know, we all talk about that too. We want change so much, but then when we're going through it, we're like, gosh, why is this so hard? Right. And so it's all wrapped up in there. I think the grief, the resentment, but then right alongside that, there's just growth and beauty. And
I love that.
and love, so I think certainly mompreneurs and mompreneur guilt is like a special kind of guilt.
Yeah.
I feel like, especially for mompreneurs, especially if you already have a business, or if you're even a career person, like
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
coach
Mm-hmm.
healthcare providers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the busiest people in the world.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like you you have this moment where you can do both, like right in
Right.
their infancy. Like they're not going to know that while they were like in your arms that you were
Right.
writing out
Editing
a
a
podcast,
podcast or
whereas
yeah.
when they get a little bit older and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm choosing my business right now, like I said, right? No guilt,
Yeah.
no shame, I'm choosing my business right now. That might be a little bit more impactful. So
Mm-hmm.
growing a business when your kids are young, I feel, is a really good time, because then as your business grows and you become more financially
Yeah.
secure in your business, you can actually grow a team, delegate, outsource,
Yeah.
invest in outsourcing,
And then you're
and grow
there.
your business alongside your family in a way that
Mm-hmm.
feels good. So
Gosh, imagine, having your podcast growing or your business, whatever type of business it may be, and like delegating things out while your kid has their first day of preschool, their first day of kindergarten. You get to go drop them off yourself. You're not rushing to a corporate job. Like that's huge. That's awesome.
yeah. Yeah, we don't really talk about that a lot. Like
No.
oftentimes when you see a mom with like they'll be like 3 kids under 6, and most
Yeah.
other moms will be like, "Oh, you're in the weeds, girl. Like
Yeah.
it'll get better."
Yeah.
And it will, but just in a different way. And
Yeah.
I've found that I've had to be a much more present mom in this season of motherhood.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. And also I think there's something to be said for like bringing back to what you said earlier about choosing different things. Like I love this. I think Keisha's the one that like said this one day and it just stuck with me, before she was even pregnant, right? And again, I don't have kids, but she was talking about how like Sally Sue, whatever, like stays up till 4 a.m. like baking the brownies for the bake sale and like frosting them and they're all cute. And like she's like, and I would just maybe stop at Safeway or Tops or whatever and like grab some pre-made brownies and bring them. Like, who cares? Like, it depends on, it's like, what do you want to choose? Right. And like, that's up to you. Like, if that's their desire and they are fulfilled by staying up till 4 a.m. baking brownies, that's awesome for them. But like, for you, if you're building a freaking business, a mom of 3 that are under 6, and like you buy the store-bought brownies, who cares? Right. Like, it comes down to choosing what's going to make you feel the best and what's going to push you and your family ahead instead of trying to do everything that society tells you as a mom you're supposed to do.
It's beautiful. It's bang
Hmm.
on, exactly.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think
And I
that's
think,
really what can eliminate the guilt too, is like
yes.
losing this idea of what you're supposed to be. I've got the air
Yeah.
quotes going
I love
here.
that. Yeah.
And the
Hmm.
and the and identifying what you want, what you love.
Yeah.
And also, like I said earlier, identifying the conflict, because sometimes you want to be the mom that stays up
Yeah.
till 4 a.m. to bake, but you're choosing not to be. And until we get clear about that, until we take time to quiet the
Hmm.
mind, go deep and say, like,
Yes.
why am I feeling this way? Why am I having this feeling of guilt?
Yeah.
And accepting that it's
Yeah.
because you feel some conflict, that you want both,
Hmm.
you know? And I don't know who said
Yeah.
this, but someone said like guilt is like a bag of rocks.
Ooh.
You can choose to carry it around with you or not.
Okay. I love that.
And I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to be carrying around this heavy ass bag of rocks right now. Like,
Right.
but how do I know? Like,
Yeah.
how do I know that how do I learn not to carry it? And it's really
Yes.
about identifying like what the conflict is, what the inner conflict is,
Okay.
and
Okay.
recognizing that you wish you could choose both, but you
Yeah.
can't, and acceptance
Yeah.
of the choice that you make.
I love that so freaking much because like I was saying earlier, that's kind of where I'm at is like moving in with my fiance and all of that and like starting a business and it's like, well, you chose that. There's nothing wrong with wanting maybe things to be slightly different. Like maybe you don't want to take on, I don't know. As a woman, I feel like we just take on so much naturally. But like maybe you don't want to do all of that. However, you chose to be happy with, you chose to be with somebody and like live with them. And that's a happy thing for you. Or, you chose to start a new business. So like there is something to be said for like, that's what you chose, but then maybe the guilt of where you're slacking in other areas, you have to just like let that go. And I'm like basically talking to myself right now and all the listeners that are feeling like this, because it's like, I just have to let that go. I have to remember, because I'm building up so much resentment of like, no, like, I just want to lay around and scroll on Instagram, or I want to do this, or, how come you can't do all these things that I'm doing? But like, they can't live your life for you, right? Like, nobody can live your life for you. Nobody can come in unless you want to hire out every single thing if you have the ability to do so. But like, yeah, I mean, you've got to still be the one kind of stepping up to do it and remember that you chose. And remember like what
100%,
part of that
especially
makes
in
you happy.
relationships, whether we're talking
Yeah.
about spouses, fiancés,
Yeah.
children. My
Yes.
mindset coach, he always says to just ask yourself better questions. And I think this really can help with resentment too. Like instead of, how come I can't stay up late
Yeah.
scrolling on Instagram? It's
Hmm.
more like, especially if you're feeling
I love
resentment for
that.
someone else, it's like, how can I love this person more right
Yeah.
now? You
Yeah.
know,
Oh, ask a better question.
yeah, ask yourself a better question.
Hmm.
Or, how can I achieve some, like, I want to say like mind numbing behavior, because like for
Yeah.
me that's what scrolling is. I'm like,
Yes.
let me just like zone out and
Yes.
watch these reels,
Zoned
which really
out.
is just satisfying my need for like to just zone out,
Zone out.
like
Yeah.
how can I make some time for that, for
Yeah.
scrolling,
Yeah.
um
Yeah. Because you just have to realize, like, as a woman, as a mom, there's so many things that like we're built to do differently. Like it just lands on us because that's just that's just us. It's just, we're built for this. And so,
well,
so
I
many
would be
things.
mindful. I'm sorry, but I would be
You
mindful
tell
of
me.
I would be mindful of that narrative.
I love that. Yeah. Point this out. This is what people need to hear. And obviously myself included. Love it.
Yeah, because we continue to say that, and
Hmm.
then we continue to behave in that way,
Yeah.
and then we have a society of burnt out mothers.
Yes.
Because
Yes. Yes.
no,
Yes.
I mean, certainly they say we are wired differently
Yeah.
than men, but that doesn't mean that we have to take on the mental load, that
So
we have to
good.
take on handling all of the things. We don't.
Yeah.
It's a shared, you're in a relationship, it's a
Yeah.
shared responsibility. And if we continue to say that women manage more, handle more,
Yeah.
have more weight on our shoulders, then we're going to continue to behave that way, and that is
Mhm.
going to continue to be our truth, the truth of our existence.
I love that. How do you pivot out of that then? Or how would you maybe suggest that somebody pivots a little bit out of that?
Well,
Obviously
I
changing
think,
the narrative first.
well, I mean, that is the way
Yeah.
it is, because that's just not true.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
not true.
So
But
good.
we believe it, and so it becomes our truth.
So true.
And
Yeah.
so, like, just the way that I said it to you,
Yeah.
like, just be mindful of how we're speaking about motherhood into the world, how we're speaking about the roles
Yeah.
of responsibility into the world, because how we think dictates how we act and
Hmm.
what we do and the choices that we make. And so, okay, I'm going to give you a really good example of
I
this.
love it.
I'm
I
going to
love
give you
it.
a really good storytelling time. Okay, so very recently, in the past year or so, I just had this conversation about my husband about the extra things that I was
Yeah.
managing that I didn't want to manage anymore. And one of the very simple things was the dentist appointments.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, we just changed it all over to him, and like he gets the texts and everything,
Cool.
and he handles it for the family. So it's like 2 cleanings, and then anything that might come up from a cleaning, right? And so
Sure.
my son, my second son, my 15-year-old, he had a cleaning, and there was a cavity discovered, and so my husband continued to like book
Nice.
the following appointments. And so he booked a cavity filling on my son's 15th birthday. And I could not say anything about it. And
Yeah.
he felt terrible. I mean, like
I
he
like that.
confirmed it on like the 2 days before, and like still, like I see that date and I go,
Yeah.
oh no, like he doesn't
Uh-huh.
want to get a filling on his birthday,
But you
right? Because
didn't jump down your
I'm
husband's
holding
throat.
on,
Yeah.
pardon?
You didn't
Because
jump
I'm
down
just
your throat.
holding on to all those things. Like for
Hmm.
whatever reason,
Yeah.
his birthday was burned into my brain. Well, I know
Yeah.
exactly why it's
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
my brain.
I was gonna say, I hope.
and a filling appointment would never happen on that date.
Yeah.
And it did. And that was just very recently. And, I could have been like, why would you do that?
Yes.
But no, I laughed, and he felt terrible. He knew he
Yeah.
felt terrible. He didn't
Yeah.
need me layering it on.
Yeah.
But I had to, that was an area that I just let go, an experience that happened because that's something that I don't even have to think about anymore.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the fact that he's handling it more
Mhm.
than I care about the fact that there was a filling on a birthday.
Sure. Yeah, that makes so much sense. I love that. And I love, like, can you talk a little bit more? Because I know for a fact that I have many listeners who are at this stage, even in healthcare, especially. Because as a nurse, like, we go to work for 12 hours at a time or even
Yeah.
longer. And so we need that support from our, significant other. So I know there's a lot of listeners who are struggling with talking to their husbands or their partners about this and about sharing the responsibilities of the children. Can you
Mm-hmm.
tell us a
I
little
mean,
bit about how that came?
I think when it comes down to it, my man would do anything for me. He loves
Yeah.
me. And it
Yeah.
was just all it took was asking. And you know
Yeah.
what's really funny is like when I remember when my parents had their 50th wedding anniversary, and I was all like, what's the secret?
Yeah, totally.
I want to make it that long. And my mom
Yeah.
said, it's like one phrase. And I said, what? What's the phrase? And she says, honey, can you do me a favor?
Wow. Yeah.
And she's like, we as women, we expect our partners to really understand. And a lot of us don't like to ask for help.
Yeah.
So that we expect them to understand what we need and to recognize the load, the weight of everything we're carrying. And then on top of that, we don't like asking for help. So what's he or she supposed to do?
Hey, you guys, it's that time where there's just a quick announcement. I'm super pumped that this burnout movement is seriously taking over. Like, you guys, we had so much fun in the previous Bliss Master class, and we have opened up the Master course. It's super exciting. The Master course is open right now. You can join. We are kicking things off, and that's all on Instagram or, helloaudreyrose.com, where you can get all those details. But I really want to let you know that I'm so excited to announce that we are having another virtual masterclass, and this one is all about honoring our bodies. We're slowing down. We're going to do a little sound bath. We are going to learn a lot about gut health, and it's just so exciting. This one is also going to be virtual. So if you just text honor to 707-347-0723. You're going to get on the list for that, and there's so much more going on. I am so excited for you, and be on the lookout. If you go to helloaudreyrose.com/events, you're going to be the first to know about all of the new courses coming up, the coaching we have coming out, and the best part, my favorite, the retreats. Woohoo! I'm so excited, you guys. Check it out. And as always, everything's going to be posted on my Instagram, which is at helloaudreyrose.
I mean, we've really put them in a position and set them up for failure, right? Where we're not communicating our needs, and we expect them to know what our needs are.
Yeah. Yeah.
We want both of those things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm in there slamming cupboards. He's like, is everything okay?
Like, how do you not know? I know. I've totally been there where I try to say something. honey, hey, can you do blah, blah, blah? And it takes him a minute. Like, he might have to ask for a little bit more clarification. And at that point, I'm like, never mind. I'll do it all myself. And it's like, wait a minute. Instead of responding that way, if I took the extra 5 minutes to explain something to him that he's willing to do, then look, for life, now he knows how to do whatever it is, right? And he'll totally go do that for me. And he'll totally help if I'm having a busy day. But it's about slowing down and talking it out.
I think for most women, it's really getting over the idea of having to ask for help.
Yeah.
And it ties into exactly what we were talking about earlier when we were saying, like, we handle all the things. There's a little bit of ego tied into that for
true. Women. That's such a good point.
And we've really got to just look at that head on and be like, how is this making me feel more significant? I think it's tied into self-worth, self-value, our feeling of significance. So we don't want the load, but also being able to handle the load makes us feel like we're rock stars. and we don't need a support from anybody. We can do it. Yet then we're crying in our bath shower because we're burning out.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Just to circle it back to that conversation, you know, it 100% can't come from the energy behind, look how much I do.
Yes.
It has to come from the energy saying, I need help with what we have to do together.
That's so beautiful. That's such a beautiful way to phrase it, because you're not necessarily, you're not putting it, you're not coming with that narrative that it's all on the woman, it's all on me because I'm the woman. You're saying, I recognize this is our household. These are our kids. It's a shared responsibility. I need help.
If you come up with it, if you come to it with, look how much I do, he's going to hear it as, you don't do shit.
Yes. An automatic defensiveness.
Exactly.
Because that's totally, that's totally the way I
really,
approach it.
Yeah. We really have to let go of the ego attached to what we're holding on to.
Yeah, that's so wonderful. Can you speak a little bit to that burnt out mom that's crying in the shower, and about, like, obviously everything you just said about approaching a conversation and, asking for help in the first place is going to help them. But do you have another tip for them, to help them start to get into themselves? Maybe, like, how can they find, no, not find, how can they create that time for themselves to, slow down and listen to themselves, have a moment of silence? Like, what would you suggest?
Okay, I have a couple of suggestions, but first I want to set the stage for what society tells us. Society tells us that in order to breathe as moms, to have that space as moms, that we need to make time without our children. And it's like, I heard this podcast, and I can't think of the name of it now. Oh, The Good Enough Mother. So you can maybe, if we need to.
Yeah, I would love to link it.
The podcast is The Good Enough Mother, and the host was interviewing someone, and she told this sort of metaphoric story. And it's like, you feel you're burned out as a mother or a mompreneur, right? And you feel like you're underwater, and you just want to come up for air. And society tells us, like, okay, come up for air, get a babysitter, bring the kids to the mother or to the mother-in-laws, get the husband to take the kids to the park. And like, that air is only available by yourself. And I just think that's really disruptive to the mother-child bond. I think it's a dangerous message that women can only have a break without their children. And I think it plays into the resentment that we were talking about earlier. But really what we need is, we need air under the water.
Wow.
We need to find a way to, we need the scuba mask. We need the snorkel. We need some way to access air under the water. And I think that's when self-care, alongside motherhood, integrated into motherhood, the conversation that we can nurture our children and be intentional about our role as a mother, be intentional about our role as an entrepreneur or career-driven professional, and take care of ourselves simultaneously, all together under the water. I have very recently integrated a meditation practice into my life. And that's because I am about 8 weeks out from a severe concussion. And I definitely consider myself like the woo-woo type, I'm like, okay, the goddess energy,
Love it.
Mercury and retrograde. There's nothing really you can say to me that I'm like, well, that's woo-woo. Yet I wasn't really practicing many of the techniques and strategies for self-care that come alongside that, woo-woo energy, as a lot of people call it woo-woo, right? I don't know why that is, but
I don't know either. We gotta find a new word
in 2023, and it has been science-backed for quite some time, decades now. Yet, I'm not settling down and really making space to to give my brain a break.
Yeah.
And so, 9 weeks in, it is so easy. It is so
Yeah.
easy to just unplug. I put this, this side, I put this chair in my office. Sorry,
Yes.
I don't know if this is going to be audio. So there's a chair in
Yeah.
my office that's not at my desk. That is my dedicated mindfulness chair.
Oh, I
And
like
I listen
that.
to a 10-minute meditation twice a day. And it was very hard at first for me. I have a very busy brain, and I thought that I was failing at it
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
couldn't quiet my mind. But that is why I listen to guided meditations. That is why the practitioner who's delivering the guided meditation repeatedly says, if you lose focus, just bring it back.
So
She
good.
does that for people like us who think we're
So
not
good.
meditating right. And
Yes.
as we, if you're anything like me and you've tried it in the past and then, decided it doesn't work for you, that you can't do it, you really have to commit to this long-term idea that you're going to just become somebody that meditates. Because I'll tell you, I have not been more at ease, able to really find the clarity that I'm talking about, to identify conflict, recognize resentment, communicate better with my spouse, than now that my brain is being exercised.
Yeah. I love that.
And I really had to do it coming out of a place where I was taking my brain for granted. If you've never suffered from a concussion, I'm just going to tell you point blank fact, you take your brain for granted every single day. And so once I lost the function of my brain and recognized that I had poor brain health, like I had a brain injury, I wanted it back more than anything.
Yeah.
And that's what it took for me to quiet my mind 20 minutes a day. And it has been really, really powerful in a lot of different areas of my life. And so I just think, and if we had been having this interview 3 months ago, that would not be the same answer that I would
Yeah.
get. And I know, for listeners like me, everybody is saying meditate.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
telling you, do it, okay?
Yeah. So true. Yeah. Yeah. Take it from somebody who's been going through it. I mean, honestly, that's a wonderful answer. Can I ask you, like, if you could shout out, where everybody can find you? Is Instagram the best place? Like, I'll make sure it's in the show notes, of course.
Yeah, for sure. Instagram is a great place. So I'm at Tanya Malcolm. But also I have a couple of resources that I'd love to share. So I
Yes.
have a
Yes.
journal. It's called the Mama Magic Journal.
Oh,
Right now it's
wow.
a free PDF. In the future, it's going to be a product, but right now it's a
Cool.
PDF. You can just go to shineonmama.com/journal. And this basically has a morning and evening reflection piece on it. And it's just
Awesome.
really what I find with a lot, especially mompreneurs, that conflict that we were talking about is like, we're not being as intentional as we can be in our role as mothers. And so
Yeah.
this journal is really to help us do that. So just ask questions like one word to describe the type of mother I want to be today. And like, I choose
Oh,
it by, or like, and then at the end of the day, it's like something I did really well as a mother today. And then
that's
it's got a
super awesome.
scorecard for a method for mindful mothering that I use. So that you can then score yourself, because if we're not measuring, we're not growing.
Right.
and
Right.
and so I would love to help anyone listening who is a mother to access this resource. So yeah,
Yes.
shineonmama.com/journal. And then lastly, I am putting together my first membership, and it
Woo!
is, thank you.
Yes.
It is for mompreneurs who want to thrive where their ambition and motherhood intersect. And so if you want, you can text the word community to 778-743-8296, and you'll be getting all the information about my Momentum membership.
I love it. Oh, that's so awesome for so
Yeah.
many people. And if I can ask you one more thing, I know you obviously shared some important self-love and self-care tips. You can repeat one of those or give us another one, but I always ask for one to wrap the show up with.
Yeah, well, I would definitely say journaling as a second one. And I've just given you an awesome journal to start with,
Yes.
especially if you
Yes.
are a mompreneur. So yeah, I think that definitely just grasping and taking time to reflect on your day and identify areas where you can improve and identify areas where you're doing awesome is just really important for any type of personal growth, especially in motherhood. So
awesome. I love it. Thank you.
you're
Well,
so
thank you
welcome.
so much for
Thank
coming
you so
on
much
the
for having
show.
me.
Yeah, and I can't wait. And everything will be in the show notes.
I'm so happy you got to make it to another amazing episode of the Ready to Rise podcast. Don't hesitate to share this with a friend that needs to hear it. Send it straight to their DMs. Take a screenshot, throw it up in your stories, tag me in it at Hello Audrey Rose. And don't forget, if you leave a written review on the iTunes app, that also helps people find it. So if it resonates with you, help others find it. And I can't wait to hear how much you loved this awesome episode. Have a blessed day.